I got to thinking about the Bengals season, and I want to do a season recap of what I think, because I really haven't had a chance to talk about it much, because with the health problems and yada, yada, whatever, but I'm feeling good today. Happy Easter, by the way. He has risen. Whether you believe that or not, whatever. But, so I went back and looked at the Bengals season, like I said, and I'm going to recap the losses we had. First game of the week, Joe Burrow plays probably the worst game of his career. Probably the worst game he's ever going to play in his career. And we still went to overtime and almost had a chance to win that game. We should have won that game. I mean, can you imagine what would have happened if the Bengals wouldn't have turned any balls over? Would have beat them by 30. But we lost that game because of Joe Burrow's horrible play in the first week of the season. Whatever. So that's a loss we should have won. Then we played Dallas. And Dallas actually didn't do bad this season. They had Cooper Rush, which I still think is better than Dak Prescott in big games. But we lost that game because I think Joe Burrow was still a little rusty. It was the second week of the season, and there was just some issues going on. So that's 0-2. We should have won that game. Then they win a few games. Then they lose to the Ravens. And they lose to the Ravens by 2 points because one of our running backs fumbled the ball and gave the game away. So that's why the Ravens won that game. Otherwise, we should have beat the Ravens. We should have. We had every opportunity to. So that's 3 games we lost that we should have won. And so far, out of these 3 losses, it's all been because the Bengals shoot themselves in the foot. And I know I'm walking around. I'm trying to get my exercise in while I'm doing this video. It's for heart purposes. But anyway. So that's 3 games we should have won. Then we played the Cleveland Browns, and we get spanked. That loss I'll accept. That was because Joe Burrow, for whatever reason, and if you think about it, Andy Dalton did the same thing when he played the Texans. When Andy Dalton played the Texans, he played like a rookie. He played like he just forgot how to play football. Same thing happened with Joe Burrow when he plays the Cleveland Browns. So the Cleveland Browns now are our new kryptonite for sure. Used to be the Texans, but now it's the Browns. So I'll accept that loss. That was really the first loss we had where we actually deserved to lose. Where we lost, like, loss. Like, wasn't even close. So that loss I'll accept. That's 4 losses. So out of 4, we got 3 that shouldn't have happened. Then we win on a huge winning streak. Won 10 games in a row, if you count the playoffs. Now, I understand there was the Buffalo game that got suspended, because of Damar Hamlin, which thank God he's good. Prayers were answered. Thank God he's okay. So we're never going to know what happened in that game, but all I know is we beat him in the playoffs. And the way it looked in that game, the Bengals were driving. They were going to score again. They were up 7-3, and they were driving. So my guess is they would have beat the Bills that time, too, but we'll never know. But anyway, so that game, whatever, didn't happen. Then we get to the playoffs, beat the Ravens, and people are saying, well, this game shouldn't even been close. Well, I told you guys that you play a rival team back-to-back weeks, so it ain't going to matter who's playing. It's going to be a close game. So, and Tyler Huntley, in my opinion, is just as good as Lamar Jackson, if not better. So, I mean, he did everything that Lamar Jackson would have done. So, that was a good win. Then we go to Buffalo, and this is where the issue with the NFL officiating I'm going to talk about. And I'm not blaming them because, look, even in the Kansas City game, the Bengals had a chance to go down and win the game. They didn't get it done. But Jamar Chase caught that TD in the end zone. I don't care what anybody says. It should have been 21-3 Cincinnati. Instead, we had to settle for a field goal. Fortunately, it didn't matter. He had both feet down. He came down with the ball. Ball was in his hand, never touched the ground, but it wiggled a little bit, so that's an incomplete pass, which is a bunch of crack of shit. So, that's a catch. Whatever. And then we play Kansas City, and like I said, we have every opportunity to win that game. And Kansas City, I'm sorry. They're good. They're a good team. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is a good quarterback. But Cincinnati is just as good as they are. I mean, this team can compete with anybody in this league right now. So, I know Kansas City Chiefs fans, yes, first of all, I'd say 75% of you are bandwagon fans. There was no Chiefs fans till Patrick Mahomes came to town. But for the ones Chiefs fans that are loyal, hey, I give you my due. When you guys were through with Matt Castle and Trent Green and, God, who was the other one? Tyler Thigpen. Whatever. If you guys stayed loyal through that whole time, then yes, you deserve the win. But to the bandwagons, F you. But anyway, the Bengals can compete with anybody in this league. And that was another situation. And I don't care what anybody says. Anybody that watches football, why did the Chiefs get to redo that third down? I mean, they basically got 5 down. So the Bengals got screwed out of that. So, in my opinion, I've always said this. There's too much money involved in these games, and you're not going to sit here and tell me. The refs can literally call a penalty anytime they want. And they didn't start calling penalties. I mean, come on. How pity is that? I understand the guy pushed frickin' Patrick Mahomes, but really at that moment, you don't call that frickin' penalty because you know that's going to end the game. And that's what I'm saying. These refs are too frickin' involved. That's the problem. They're too flag happy. And what is up with the situation of not having full-time refs? You guys are hundreds of billions of dollar industry, and you don't have full-time refs? That would be like Walmart saying we don't have full-time shopping carts. Sorry, sometimes you got to bring your own bag because we can't afford shopping carts. And they're a billion-dollar company. But anyway, so these NFL referees, and it wasn't just our game. How about the game where the Eagles-49ers game, granted the 49ers were down to their fourth-string quarterback, Josh Johnson, and pretty much had no quarterback, so they were going to lose that game anyway. But the ball hits the freaking cord of the camera. I mean, really? You guys are a professional organization. I understand stuff happens, but come on. This is an NFC championship game. This ain't like a preseason game. The problem is, here's what the problem is with this officiating. If these refs had to go up and explain every single thing they did, some of this shit would stop. I guarantee it. These refs can literally do whatever they want. They are literally deciding games. That's what it is. They are literally deciding games. Just like in the Super Bowl. That ref knew when he threw that flag at the end of the game was over. That was it. That's how the Super Bowl's going to end? With you throwing a penalty? I mean, you can't call that. I mean, the guy barely touched him. These refs are way too flag happy. They don't know what the hell they're doing half the time. Obviously, because I've never seen, when have you ever seen in a history of a football game, preseason, regular season, playoffs, Super Bowl, I don't care, where a team gets to redo a third down after the play's already been done and Patrick Mahomes went down and completed it. Oh, yeah, we had to redo that because we weren't set. Well, that's on you. Why should the Bengals have to pay for that and give up and have another down? They shouldn't have another chance. That's your F up. That's not our F up. Why are we have to pay for that? It's ridiculous, man. Anyway, that's the Bengals season recap. So, this team can win a Super Bowl. I have no doubt whatsoever. I understand we had some injuries, and the offensive line is the main issue. But, we had injuries. But this team, if this team's healthy, they can win a Super Bowl all day long. And hopefully next season, it's in Vegas, so we'll see. But, yeah, man. We had a good year, but it shouldn't have ended the way it did. It shouldn't have. But, like I said, go Bengals. We'll get ready for the next season. And, God, man, hopefully we can just stay healthy. Because, Joe Burrow's the best quarterback we've ever had. Hands down. Somebody made a comment to me. I said, this is the best quarterback we've had since Boomer. Guy said, no, this is the best quarterback you guys have had, period. And I got to thinking about it. Well, it is. Because Joe Burrow's done more in 2 seasons than Boomer Esiason did the whole time. Not to say Boomer Esiason ain't a good quarterback, because he was. But, like I said, man, I've been through the thick and thin with the Bengals. I've been through the dreaded frickin' 2019-2020 season, which I thought was the worst season ever to be a Bengals fan. I understand if it was back, in the early 2000s, we also had 2-14 season, but oh my God, we didn't start 0-11. We weren't 1-14 at one point. That was the worst year ever. And in the 90s, Akili Smith, probably, if it wasn't for Ryan Leaf, probably would have been the biggest draft bust ever. Gus Frerotte, Jeff Blake, even though he was good, and Carson Palmer getting his knee blowed out in a year which looked really promising. Never was right after that. Andy Dalton. And that's not even counting the scrubs we had just for a little bit of time. Like I said, JT O'Sullivan. God. Ryan Fitzpatrick at one point. That was before he was Fitzmagic. And I don't know, Bengal fans, but when I told you guys, when everybody was saying at 0-2, oh, Bengals ain't going nowhere. They were a fluke. They're frauds. They're not going anywhere. And I just kept looking back saying, just wait. Just wait. Now, granted, I didn't think they'd get as far as 10 in a row, but I kept saying, just wait. That's a true fan. That's the fans that are loyal. And you can tell, man, I got Bengals gear all over the place. Look. I got that. I got that. I mean, how much more stuff do you need? And that's not even a fraction of it. But I've been a Bengals fan forever. And you guys know this if you followed me on my channel. I've stuck to this team when they did not deserve it. All the years I kept saying, I kept saying Andy Dalton wasn't the answer 4 years before he got released finally. Thank God we did wait, I guess, as long as we did, because that's how we got Joe Burrow. But let's just see what happens. And I hope you guys have a good Easter.